Shalom, everyone. So excited to be with some of my favorite people in the land of Israel, Simcha and Rachel Gluck, originally from the U.S. Now are making their homeland in the land of Israel, in Jerusalem. And so I want to welcome them there. Some of our suppliers, some of our favorite people in the land. And everybody's our favorite person in the land, but these are some truly special people. And they are the people that are making our salves of Jerusalem. And just wanted to invite them on to share the story. So welcome, Simcha and Rachel. Very excited to have you all here. My first question, just wanted to open this up, is kind of tell your story. Like, how did you get to Israel in the first place? And what started you on that process to want to be there?
Yeah, it's a great question. My Bubby and Zeta, which is Yiddish for great grandfather and grandmother on my mom's side, were both 5 generations of Jerusalemite righteous sage mystics that have been in the land for more than 100 years. And, growing up in Long Island, New York, so it was always really fun to go over to my grandparents' house and hear them speaking Hebrew, hear them speaking Yiddish, get introduced to Israeli foods. And it was always something which was so exciting. It was just so exciting to be able to think about. And I remember I went for my year of Israel after high school before college to Israel. And I went, Rachel went also. We both basically, went and learned for the year Torah in the land of Israel. And it's just something that, words cannot ever explain what that's like. It's so magical and so mystical and amazing to actually experience a living embodiment of the Bible. And then we went back and we were responsible kids. Our parents told us to go to college.
No, I stayed actually.
Oh, you stayed. That's right.
Stayed.
That's right.
I actually enrolled in college here, and I said, we were not here the same year. So
Right,
because a year older. So I enrolled in college and I started going to university in Hebrew, which was definitely tough, even though I had a little bit of a base from high school and elementary school. And then we met that summer break. I went home to visit my parents, and Simcha and I met through friends in Manhattan out one night.
Yeah.
And Simcha said, you got to come home and marry me after like
well, that definitely didn't happen that night.
You knew.
That was
wow.
Quick.
A couple nights later, he's like, you can't
Right.
go back. I said, I'm going back. So we stayed back then it was like pen pals, occasional very expensive phone calls. This was in 2000.
Yeah.
And I flew back and we got married. And I said to Simcha, you promise we're going to move here one day?
And in my mind, I said, yeah, sure. I promise that we'll move there one day. It's like, I'm a Jew, and I always believe that the Jewish people are meant to be in the land of Israel. So I didn't know when. I didn't know if they were going to fly my body over there, and that's when we were going to come to Israel,
Right.
or if it was going to be before. And then Rachel and I pretty much just got entrenched in what people get entrenched in life, which is career and professionalism. We were running a sales and marketing company.
Share a little bit about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Share a little bit about what you did on the business side of things.
It was really funny on our first real first date. I met Rachel, and Rachel had a block of knives in the backseat of her car.
Cutco knives.
And she's like, no, it's not weird. Let me explain. I sell them in people's houses. And I was like, I thought you said it's not weird. She's like, no, it's called Cutco. And I'd never heard of this before in my life.
Super high quality kitchen knives that are very expensive, but forever guaranteed. And the company is in America.
Direct sales, in-home presentations, referral only, super quality. And when I went with Rachel, actually, I was so impressed. I went with Rachel on one of these appointments, as Rachel was a college student sales rep, that's how she paid her way to go to Bar Ilan University. And I went with Rachel on a presentation. I watched her sell like $1,000 of knives. And I remember walking out, I go, how much do you make? 5%, 10%? Rachel's like 50%.
I worked my way up to 50%.
Then hook our brother up.
So that's how we were able to get married. We both sold knives.
So
Rachel got
me a job. Yeah. We basically sold Cutco knives to pay our way through college. When we graduated, we were the only Shomer Shabbat office out of 500 office managers.
That kept the Sabbath.
We were the only Sabbath observers in the whole company. And the weekend is a really big time for sales, a really big time. And it was crazy for us. We were so faith-based. We would just shut our office down, and we would have hundreds of sales reps out there doing stuff. And in the very beginning, before we had development and before we were able to delegate and have assistant managers and all different, we just trusted really in Hashem to just help our sales reps be successful
without any support,
without much support. But thank God we were one of the top offices in the entire company. and it was going well. And I guess just in terms of the transition, because this is where it all takes place, about how we got to Israel,
Right.
was one of the top office managers in Cutco said to us, "Hey guys, if you want to make a lot of money, you got to go do this self-development workshop. It'll change your life, and you'll just make a ton of money." And our barometer for success back then and for meaning was just how much money we were making. So we're like, yeah, okay, we'll do anything, you know? So we went ahead and we did this self-development weekend workshop, and it was awesome. We broke $1 million in sales that year for sure, but we got our life, we got our marriage out of it. We got really crystal clear about who we wanted to be and what was going on. And we said, you know, if we're going to be our authentic selves, a big part of our authentic selves is our Jewish experience. And Jews are not meant to be in the exile. We're just not. Like, that's the default of where we were born, where we wound up. But if we're trying to ascribe attention to things and intention to things, man, we got to get back to the homeland. So within 12 months of doing this self-development, and that's how I got into coaching and training, and Rachel is just so good at what she does. Oh my gosh, within 12 months, we literally sold our house, our business, and cars, and just showed up humble and modest, saying to God, look, I don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to be in Israel, and we're counting on you. And thank God that was 15 years ago. And it's been a long story. You know, we dealt with more than 10 years of being married before we had kids. And thank God, in the end, here in the land of Israel, in the end, they came to us naturally. Now we have 3 boys, ages 4, 6,
Beautiful.
and 8.
Yeah.
And we're just focusing
Just
on
like
family.
your family.
Exactly. Family of boys.
Boys. What?
That's right. It's a family of boys. It's a good way to go. Yeah.
Family of boys. So thank God.
That's beautiful. And what does that mean? Like, I know you said, okay, so you had family from, you know, your generations going back that were in the land of Israel. How important is that for you? I mean, obviously it's important to be there, but like, describe what it is to raise a family in Israel, right? I mean, how right is that? And what does, like, how important is that for you and for Judaism in general?
Yeah, sure. So I guess there's a few different elements to it, right? One is, it really just feels like this is where the essence of my soul is supposed to be. I feel it, like, not just on a genealogical level, but really on a metaphysical DNA level. I feel it. So it feels very much like we're sort of the right seed planted in the right soil, which is really nice.
We literally pass the Temple Mount every day, and we just look
every
at
day.
it. We see the Gold Dome every day, and we're just
every single day. It's
right
out there. And right in the back of our house, you know, is the ancient waterways that brought water, snake through all the mountains and brought water to the Temple Mount.
To the temple.
So
it's in our backyard here.
So it's literally right over here. But on a very real level, I mean, man, having our kids speak Hebrew, having our kids into the Beit HaMikdash, the temple, having our kids into, like, the real seasons of the holidays, not like sort of the Chagim, like the holidays of Passover and Sukkot, wherever they show up.
Like Sukkot in New Jersey, we would be freezing and in our winter coats and have to go inside when it rained. And here we're just outside in our sukkah. And
everyone around us is in Sukkot. In other words, we're not going against the grain. It's almost like,
our neighbors help us set it up every year.
Sure.
Everyone's setting it up outside.
But you know how it is, like, as a Jew, when I was a Jew in New York City on the Sabbath, it was very much not a Sabbath. It was Saturday, and in my little force field zone, I'm having my little Shabbat, But here, everyone's doing Shabbat. Now, you may keep it, you may not keep it, you may do it your way or not your way, but it's Shabbat. There is no Saturday.
Shabbat Shalom.
So I feel like for Rachel and I, being able to raise children here, where literally we're eating the seasons that are local. We're eating the fruits and vegetables that are ripe, that are local, that are harvested here. We're understanding who the farmers are. We understand now we're in the year of Shemitah, the sabbatical year. And we're so proud. We go on the highways and, like, there are massive signs up on these fields, like, these farmers are observing the sabbatical year. You're like, yes. Like,
pomegranates come in right before Rosh Hashanah. It's like everything is exactly seasonal. Our son tomorrow is going on a full day Tiyul, it's called, which is a trip with the youth group here. And it's the first time we're sending him on a trip, and they're going to take their Torah with them, their Tanakh with them, their Siddur, and they take them on biblical walks, and they tell them this is where this happened, this is where King David, and it's really living the prophecy.
Because you can do it there, right? I can't do that in America. It's not possible.
Right. So, it's not theoretical here. It's just like they read it and then they go
Yeah.
They go travel to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Also, just to add, my father, growing up, all my aunts and uncles and cousins were in Israel. My father's two brothers and two sisters moved to Israel in the 60s and 70s. His parents, my father's parents, my Bubby and Zadie, made Aliyah in 1981. So I grew up without one set of grandparents and
Wow.
without 20 first cousins that were here with
Oh,
all
wow.
their kids. So I've over 100 from them. We're about 200 people now, just my immediate
awesome.
family here, because they're ultra Orthodox. So they just have an average of 8 children each. It's
Right.
unbelievable.
Thank God.
Yeah.
That's
Thank God.
beautiful.
Really, it's a gift, and being able to hear my kids speak Hebrew and my kids learn Torah, like it was difficult for me as an American. I grew up religious. I grew up Orthodox Jewish and going to yeshiva, but at the same time, Hebrew is a foreign language. So trying to read the prophets, trying to read the Torah in a you have to. It's difficult, but here it's the indigenous language, so it just comes very naturally to just flow in conversation, flow in Torah, flow in the seasons. So thank God, it's been amazing.
Yeah, and you're for sure living the life that the prophets dreamt of. So, which is beautiful.
I'd like to think so. Yeah.
Now we kind of have a little bit of your story, a little bit of your background, business. You two were entrepreneurs of their own right, and then realized there's something more important, right? We can sell knives for until kingdom come, but there's something more important out there, and so you made that step, that journey. Tell us a little bit about the journey to Israel, and then the journey of Jerusalem Sabs. Like, how did that come about?
Yeah, sure. So certainly, there's no way to move countries and just duck and roll. Like that doesn't work. You got to really get integrated into the land, into
Sure.
the Middle Eastern culture, into the vibe, into a language, there's so much. It's not seamless, even though we would have liked it to be. Things that we were responsible and thought we had career-wise in front of us to help make our transition smoother, within about a few months of us getting there, totally fell
What
through.
Hashem does, he dangles a carrot and says, look, you have a job waiting for you. Look, this will work out. And you come and everything just gets flipped upside, but
Sure.
it's the way to get here.
Yeah.
That's what,
But it
we
was
find
the
that
right
with
thing.
most of our friends.
It got us there, which is really awesome. And then along the way, we basically found ourselves, Rachel and I got into real estate and, working with people to help buy and sell their homes here in Israel and have like
Well, can we tell them how?
have a really good, have a really good professional experience with it, with integrity. And that was really amazing. I started an entrepreneurial training company called Fresh Biz, where we, I was flown around the world to train companies using game-based learning, gamification, based on a game that we created, and a book that we wrote called The New Entrepreneurs, to just train companies on this abundance mindset, on creativity, innovation, all that different types of stuff. And along the way, we got into health and wellness big time because our fertility journey took us a long time, and we really learned a lot about health and body and herbalism and naturopathy and
Juicing
and
cleansing.
fasting and all this different type of stuff. And we weren't sure how we were going to express it, even though we do a lot of healthful things in our house. But it was when we were finally pregnant with our first son Maor, that a friend of ours named Debbie basically gave Rachel this massive, beautiful salve and said, put this on your belly every night. It's going to keep your skin amazing. You're going to look good. It's going to smell good. You're going to feel good. And we didn't realize that Debbie had spent almost 10 years living among the Amish, really perfecting salve making, using beeswax and olive oil and shea butter and all this stuff.
And she wanted to give me a gift because I helped her find a rental and I wouldn't take a fee because she was a divorced mama and starting out again with 7 children. So just goes to show you.
It was a really nice gift. It was awesome. It smelled really natural and really earthy. And man, we loved it. And unfortunately, when she left Israel, she needed to leave Israel for a few years. When she left, she knew how much, we're into herbalism and things like that. So she basically taught us how to make these salves and creams. And originally we did it
But Simcha was already making creams for years. Simcha has been, right? You've been making creams for years. He always was making everything handmade. And then Debbie gave us these Amish recipes that Simcha has just been researching and perfecting and making them better and better and better.
And just doing research and development on it, saying, okay, this is really cool that it's Amish source recipes, but let's do more research and develop, let's really develop things that are actually based on indigenous herbs and fruits and all sorts of things. So the olive oil is organic and it's homegrown, and we know the incredible righteous people that grow it. They're amazing. They're amazing. And then the infusions, the infusions that we make and the flowers that we pick, the calendula, chamomile, helichrysum, are growing up in the Galilee. We know the source where it grows.
We found this amazing family that gets us the best organic herbs and flowers.
Awesome.
And the same thing goes for the organic essential oils. I mean, these aren't just to like smell nice, right? If you want to smell nice, so you can get different grades, and there's different grades of them, and we get A+ grade. We spend a lot of money buying medicinal grade organic essential oils
from a Kohen, from a priest, a Jewish priest,
from a Kohen, who's actually been doing this for 30 years here in Israel.
Wow.
So he blesses everything also before he sends it our way.
And boy does he do quality control and integrity.
Yeah.
And it's awesome because I'm sure you can appreciate this, but we live fast-paced lives like many other people live fast-paced lives, with phones ringing and WhatsApp and signals pinging and tinging, and to be able to do something that's aromatherapeutic and that's tactile and that's fresh. And I feel like the high priest in my house cooking up these incredible incenses. It was just actually the weekly Torah portion where we just read about the biblical incense that we were commanded to make. And we don't make exactly that. We're forbidden to make exactly that, actually. But certainly, certainly the frankincense and the myrrh and all these different ingredients that the Torah recommends for really high level living are basically inculcated in the salves that we make. And that's really important to us. It's really important. We feel like we're providing people medicinal herbal miracles sourced in the Holy Land.
Our children go out back and they look for really beautiful rocks in the valley behind the house here. And so when people order from us directly, they get a little stone from Jerusalem.
Sometimes we send a little stone with them and things like that, but we just try and keep it very, very local and very fresh.
Yeah.
And, it's great that we get to do work together. We really appreciate getting to work with your family, being able to showcase,
we love it.
Good people here in Israel.
That you get to ship it straight from the state. Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, it is amazing. It's great stuff. I love using it. And I love not just that, but, like you were saying, okay, so I didn't know that, right? The fragrances come from a Kohen, from a priest. But just the idea of going back in history, right? Going back in time, they didn't have, what is it called? Hot ice, or, like all of these different muscle relievers back in the day. 2000 years ago, it was like, I have some olive oil and I have some frankincense and let's see what we can do. And I love the fact that I can take your cream and say, this is, it's in a tin jar, but next to that, it's basically what they would have used 2000 years ago, right? This is history being revived. And so I love that. Like, there's so much historical value to what you're doing as well. So share about that. Like, what is like history, future, like what does this mean to you? It's a job, yeah, for sure. But the passion behind it, I can hear there is passion, and I think that's, people shouldn't do something that they're not passionate about, obviously. So share that, share your heart behind the product.
Yeah, well, I'll just tell you that in Song of Songs, I think it's chapter 4, it says, as the day wraps up and the darkness ebbs away, I will go to the hill of myrrh and the mountain of frankincense. And it's literally referring to the Temple Mount, which we're right over here, we're right across from. And it says, like, there's so much in the Torah about the frankincense, about the herbs being used, even the word Mashiach, just to give you an idea. And we may have different opinions about who Mashiach, who the Messiah is, but what we can all agree upon is that in Hebrew, the word Mashiach comes from anointed. How do you anoint the leader? You anoint them with olive oil. Matter of fact, Rachel pointed out to me, which was really, really, really clever. She's like, Simcha, your name in Hebrew, Simcha, Sin Mem Ched Hey, is the same exact letters as Mishcha, which means cream.
Everybody calls our salves in Hebrew Mishcha. It's his name. Just
like you're really
the letters.
You're meant to be doing this. I'm like, well, we're meant to be doing this with with our family.
But Mashiach, Mishcha, Simcha, so it's all.
Yeah, and I think it's an important mission nowadays, because I just the more that we read news and we read media and things like that, we just see sort of how corrupted things can be, in the sense of, they want to scare people They want to make people think that, you know, there are no cures for certain things. The only cures are like cures that are manufactured in laboratories. And while that certainly may be true sometimes, and there certainly are amazing things that are made in laboratories, and science is real and it's awesome and it's spectacular, there's so much divine providence that's placed in the world of herbs. I mean, we were given 7 indigenous fruits of the land of Israel: Eretz, Chita, Se'ora, Geffen, Te'ena, Rimon, Eretz, Echem, Davash, wheat, barley, figs, grapes, dates, and honey, which, you know, and so the last 2 things are basically Eretz, Zeit, Shemen, and Davash, which is olive oil and honey. And the way that you make a salve is with olive oil and beeswax. So I mean, we're literally living the indigenous foods of Israel. We're just trying to source it. We're trying to give people that or bring people the medicinal healing through what God put into nature. It's our divine right, I mean, to have it. And then for us, knowing that Israel is the center, at least for so much, you know, being able to source at the center and then send it out.
That's really awesome.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
People tell us they feel the healing energy in it, like not just the ingredients, they really feel the vibe. So
yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say also is you have to see the success stories that we get. People write us literally every single day. There was this one lady, I just did a different podcast with her, a little bit sharing our story, dealing with cancer and mental health and infertility and things like that. And she said to me, she's like, do you think it could help my dog? I'm like, well, you know, if you're brave enough and you want to go for it, oh my goodness.
Her dog had an open wound for months.
She sent me pictures for 7 days straight of it completely healing after literally 2 or 3 months of being an open wound. And forget about the stuff where people talk about their psoriasis and eczema going away. In addition to the fact that people are literally getting rid of, you know, burns. We have people that are putting on our creams and they're getting feeling back in their nerves that they haven't had in decades. We have some people, for example, who, you know, they do fitness and they want to recover. They have muscle aches or pains, or they do marathons and jog, and they're looking for like a nice minty, mentholy analgesic to remove the pain from the aches and pains.
I can attest.
I'm not. Yeah. Oh, thanks.
Yeah, personally, I attest.
I'm not a doctor. I don't play one on TV. I'm not taking responsibility but I could just tell you that we just use, you know, tried and true recipes. I'm really happy to hear that you can attest. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's great stuff. It sits on our shelf.
Yeah, nice.
So
it sits on their shelf and they use it. So he was saying,
yeah, exactly. Good. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, right? And that's what I love about, you know, our business is that we don't just, we buy what we believe, right? And so that it's like it's what we use, right? It's the standard. And so if it's not the standard, then we're not going to, you know, use it. And so that's the beautiful thing is it's like, this is not just a jar of cream sitting on our shelf from Walmart, you know. No, this is from Rachel and Simcha, and we get to use it and get to think of you guys and get to think of the land of Israel. And it really is, it's a representation, a beautiful representation of what's happening in the land of Israel, right? The desert's beginning to blossom and bloom. And I love it. It's just like the son of the Garden of Eden coming back and it's in our house. So really grateful. So kind of on that, it's like we have the creams, we have kind of the story. What's the vision, right? We have Salves of Jerusalem. Tell us the future, right? What are you looking for in the future? What's your vision, either for the business or for your family, or just looking at the world in general? What do you see coming?
Yeah, sure.
What are you seeing?
Man, I guess I'll say a few things. You know, Rachel and I actually we're planning on moving to the Galilee. We bought a piece of land over there. We wanted to really get into the world of homesteading and really get into the world of growing our own food,
pioneers,
vegetables, animals.
There's nowhere really to homestead in Jerusalem, unfortunately. And we've been living in Jerusalem for 15 years.
Yeah, we've been blessed to live here for 50 years. It's been amazing. We're married for 20 years and we've been living in a big city for 20 out of 20 years. And we said, you know what, let's go take time for our family to just get back to nature, to get back to really being someone of the land. So we bought a piece of property up north. And before the sabbatical year came in, which prohibits doing any type of cultivation of the land and things like that, planting, like literally we went on a 3-week blitz mission and hired a team. We planted 80 fruit trees, built an edible food forest, and set up the whole drip water irrigation system. And boy, things are pumping and amazing. I'm doing some consulting for an incredible group of guys up there that have They just know how to turn Israel into the Garden of Eden through hydroponics, aquaponics, and vertical gardening.
That's
So we have a
awesome.
lot planned up there with 3 other families to homestead. We're building a chicken coop right now, and we're planning on growing our own
Solar panels, we have campers
solar
up
panels,
there.
campers. I mean,
That's
a
cool.
biogas grill that connects to the toilet. I mean, you can't even imagine what we're doing. And we're going to be growing our own.
I can't even imagine what we're doing.
Right, and we're going to be. We got it.
Everyone's like, what are you going to do up there? God's
Just one step at a
Hashem's
time.
going to just take us one step at a time. That's all we can do.
But we're planning on basically growing a lot of the medicinal flowers that we currently buy.
Yes.
We're going to be growing them ourselves. And what we've done over the past bunch of months, just seeing how coronavirus has been causing lots of supply chain breakdowns and things like coronavirus / the things around coronavirus, the powers that be or shouldn't be, are doing a lot of supply chain breakdown. So we said, you know what, let's really double down and let's really focus on. So we're expanding our line. We're translating everything we do into Hebrew.
Awesome.
We're actually going to be, we're actually getting the Ministry of Health approval. Not easy to do, cost a bunch of money, a lot of time. They do a lot of real deep looks into what we're doing, and we're waiting to get the approval. And when we do, we have a couple of organic chain stores here in Israel that want to carry our salves and bombs and want to actually bring it out to like another 100. So we're just trying to just really dig down local here in Israel, because you know, Israel is a small country, but I will tell you something about it is people really like quality things. And thank God we offer a really quality, it's not just another product, it's a really quality product. We feel good about it. So so that's the vision. The vision is to be able to eventually get our family to the Galilee, to go homestead. Rachel is the best real estate agent in all of Israel for sure, but to allow Rachel to go from a level 10 down to a level 6 and just be able to be outdoors and barefoot and hang out and spend a lot more time learning Torah together, and actually be able to do the art that she wants to do and more music and things like that, through having a SAP business that with partnerships like the partnership that we have, as well as to, you know, everything that we have going on abroad, and then really digging down locally to be able to focus on having it really be our main gig, be our main thing that we do. And we just love that idea. I mean, that's awesome. Like, we're literally designing into the new house that we're building with the architect an entire salve making space for workshops, for experiences. Like, we're really planning on doing this the right way so people can actually experience what it is to actually make one. And it's really a beautiful process.
Yeah, I love, especially, it seems like everybody I talk to in Israel, but I love, you know, just hearing from you. It's like, this is a family venture, right? And adventure, right? It's not just dad is over here and he's doing his thing and he's going to try and make a business, but it's like, no, this is the journey of a lifetime, and you're putting everything into it. And it's super exciting. I can't wait to come and visit you on your farm. Like, that's
finally get back into the country as of March 1st.
Exactly. Yeah. Baruch Hashem. Praise God. So with that, like, with all this going on, you know, so many exciting things, but still the world is where it is, you know, unfortunately. Still, as you said, the powers that shouldn't be are there. And there are things that are causing people to lose hope, to lose faith. Maybe you can take a moment. I mean, you both are very positive, and I love that about y'all. See things in a very positive light, but I think people need to hear from you guys, like, why?
Yeah.
Like, how can you look at everything and be like, yeah, the world is in a crazy place, but we're gonna have a farm and we're gonna have a you know, beautiful life is ahead. Like, how do you do that? You know, how do you look at things with such positivity?
So
it's not all roses.
It depends on the moment.
It depends on the day that you catch us.
Roses come with thorns.
It depends on the hour, but you know, I'll tell you something interesting. You know, I from being a trainer and a speaker, okay, and really traveling many countries and training some of the best companies and best entrepreneurs and businesses out there, I felt like at that moment in my life, I was enabled to be very macro. And then because of all the closures that were happening, where they closed the country and you couldn't travel and you had to wear this and you couldn't go here and you couldn't do this, I felt like all of a sudden God was shifting his message to us and saying, you guys got to be a lot more micro. a lot more family centric, and really focus on your family vision, your family values. And family, I don't just mean just our little family of five. I mean our larger family, our Jewish family, our family of Israel, our family of humanity around the world. But there's different scales and different levels to it. And look, there's powers that shouldn't be, but they are, because God allows them the space and time, because humans have free choice. That's one of the basic things we're allowed free choice. And that means that we can choose life as God indicates and tells us to do, or we can choose death. And, it seems like, well, who would choose death? And the answer is, a lot of the people that are running the show, unfortunately, are making that choice, sometimes for us even. And so it's not all roses. We're not all positive all day long. But at the same time, we know that God is running the show. And, as much as there is things that shouldn't be happening, and I say shouldn't be, it's happening. So that's the wrong terminology. But as much as there is evil out there and there's bad agendas that are out there, we have a holiday of Purim coming up. And the holiday of Purim is exactly about that. I mean, there was a massive evil agenda planned for 127 provinces around the world. And it seemed really bleak for the Jewish people. And because of these hidden, divinely orchestrated miracles, and the whole book of Megillat Esther, which the real translation in English is not the scroll of Esther, but it means Megillat Esther, the revealing of the hidden, is the fact that it was revealed to us all the hidden miracles that God does for us. And it showed that coincidences are not coincidences. They're very divinely orchestrated, planned into the design. And we just understand that that's what's happening right now is, man, they're getting dark, but at the same time, it's for good. There's redemption coming. There's a big healing coming. There's going to be a great reckoning that takes place. There's going to be justice that takes place. Truth is going to show. God's going to have rachamim, going to have kindness on people, and people are going to have time to do teshuvah, to be able to come back, to return to Him. And I really believe it's called midah keneged midah. We have that concept, a measure for a measure. If someone acts, righteously towards another, then God acts righteously towards him. If someone acts cruel to someone, then God acts cruel to him. And we know that. So we're doing our best on a micro level. And because we're the Jewish people, we know that we can tap into the metaphysical world also. So even when we feel like we're just doing some household chores, we're doing something small, like how is this contributing on a metaphysical level? We're literally fulfilling God's words of the Torah, and it has a metaphysical effect to tip the scales over. So I can't tell you when. I'm not here to be a prophet. We don't do prophecies and things like that at this moment. We will when the temple is restored. But what I can say is that, man, there is a plan coming, and truth is wakening up. Truth is wakening up everywhere. I mean, we see freedom rallies here, we see freedom rallies there. Again, it's not about being anti. We're not anti people. We're not into being anti anything. It's like, I don't think anybody's into being anti. You can't have an identity based on what you're not. You can only have an identity based on what you are. Right. And we're about integrity and Judaism, and we're about health and wellness, and what Rachel said, freedom. And so I'm really inspired by that. I'm really inspired by the weekly Torah portion that's always so pertinent and so relevant to exactly what we need that specific week in this year specifically. And I think that the more we can stay attuned to that, the more we can get a lot of solace from the fact that God is even more with us today than ever before. And we are going through some dark times, so we got to just know that we're almost on the other side of it. And on the other side of it, oh my goodness, the amount of light that's going to flow. They say that on the other side of this darkness is not only light, but is the original light that God created, and God had to hide from humanity because it was too strong. This is what it says in the Zohar and the Kabbalah. It was too strong. It's called the Or Ganuz, the original light of creation. We see but a fraction of it in the sun. But even that's just a representation. But man, are we going to have lightness that we're not even going to be able to? We're going to soak it up, man. We're going to soak it up,
right? Because the world needs it. The world needs it for sure. Yeah. We need light. We need truth for sure. That's beautiful. So basically, take this all, put a nice bow on it. Like, give us a wrap. Last thoughts, last comments, last things you want to share with people. Also, one thing I wanted to say. Share the name of your book. Remind me. I have it on my shelf somewhere. But the name of your book, kind of what you did there, and then last thoughts.
Sure.
Can we get a copy?
Just for time purposes, I'll just tell you. So it's called The New Entrepreneurs.
With a Z at the end.
With a Z at the end, and that's just because our company is called Fresh Biz.
With a Z at the end.
With a Z at the end. So we wanted that to match for branding purposes. So it's called The New Entrepreneurs with a Z. It's out there on Audible too. It's got more than 100 5-star reviews on Amazon. Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And that's just another manifestation, another embodiment of Rachel and I of our message, which is the message of being in a messianic mindset of abundance, of creativity, of love, of the right values, even in the world of business, especially in the world of business. That's sort of like was our whole context, was bringing that into the world of business out of the sterile, stoic boardrooms, and the different costumes that people wear, to really bring back like the values and the dream and the vision of being able, you can bring what you have in your family to the world of business too, and it will go just as far.
Right.
And then for Rachel and I, and for our vision, I would just say, man, I wish I had some.
We're actually building a new vision board right now.
Yeah,
we're like, what do we want the next 20 years to look like? We made a vision board when we got married, like a couple years in, and we looked at it and we're like, every single thing on this board has happened.
That's how awesome Hashem is. Every single thing on it, literally every single thing happened. Everything. So we're like, okay,
we're in the process now.
It's time for a new vision board.
We don't know what lies ahead. This is the first time we're in such a huge question mark.
Right.
Everybody keeps asking why we're moving, and we're like, we just know that we need to move for now. Doesn't mean forever, but we need to go experiment and live in the greenery of the Galilee. 10 minutes from the Sea of Galilee. It is majestic out there. It is so beautiful. It is a much slower pace. We have 3 little wild boys that are going to just be able to go outside to the mountains.
Awesome.
Go play with the sheep over there. It's going to be awesome. And it'll really be a space to we also want to have a space to greet people. Thank God tourism is opening up again. And we really thought about it. There's always like specific stops on the road that these tour buses take. And we want to be one of those stops where someone could come in and really have an authentic taste of a Jewish family living in the mountains of the Galilee. And that's exciting to us. Just like having like an open home that we can host. So
yeah, that is exciting. That's it. I was just going to say like that also. Rachel said it so beautifully. Just to wrap up is, who we are and what we're about is we're about God inspired values. We're about, herbal remedies and the beauty of nature, and nature as a creation and an extension, basically, or a creation of God. And how to be able to weave it all together, combining Torah, combining herbalism, combining the land of Israel, the people of Israel, the Torah of Israel, the flavors of Israel, all of it together in a beautiful blend. It's an all-encompassing experience. It's not just a little tin or a little this or a little supplement or something you put on. It's an all-encompassing experience of just being connected, a combination of physical and metaphysical. And that we pray every day that we get to embody, for ourselves, for our kids, for our family, for our Jewish brothers and not Jewish brothers, literally around the world. I mean, it really doesn't matter to us. We're just, especially now, I feel like the past couple of years has been a little rough for Israel. We just want to sort of do what's called a Kiddush Hashem, which is to really sanctify God's name. And that's what we're committed to. That's what we're about.
It's beautiful. It's so beautiful. I just wanted to say, I feel the same. I feel like I have a vision board. And it's question mark Mashiach. It's like, I don't know, Mashiach. It's like, I don't know. I don't have any plans. It's like, just take it one day at a time. They always
say, don't worry about the hows, right?
Right, exactly. So, but that's what I'm hearing from you guys, and that's what I love. It's a beautiful vision. I'm so grateful to get to spend this time with you, and allow you to share your hearts with all of our customers. So all of you who are out there, I hope you're encouraged. I hope that you'll go and buy these products from this beautiful family who's beginning their journey, continuing their journey, bringing restoration to the land of Israel. And be encouraged. There are good days on the other side, and there is a light that the world needs and is coming. So shalom to everyone. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you so much for having us.